Some stories should never be heard after midnight.
I first noticed him because he never blinked. That sounds dramatic, but it's true. I moved into the townhouse in late March, quiet street outside Portland, mostly young families and retirees. The units are close together, small fence-back patios, second-floor bedroom windows facing each other across a narrow stretch of lawn. The first week was normal. Unpacking, meeting one or two neighbors. Then one night around 11:30 p.m., I walked into my bedroom and saw him standing in his window across the way. Lights off behind him, just a silhouette. He wasn't doing anything, just standing there, facing directly toward my room. I figured maybe he was on his phone or thinking, or just happened to be looking outside. I closed my blinds halfway and ignored it. The next night, same time, he was there again. Same position, same still posture, lights off behind him. That's when I started paying attention. He wasn't looking out at the yard. He was looking straight into my window. I tested it. I stepped to the left side of my room. His head tilted slightly. I stepped to the right. His head adjusted again. Slow, deliberate, following me. My stomach tightened. I closed the blinds fully that night. The next morning, I opened them to let sunlight in, and his blinds were closed. Completely. Like he only opened them at night. I tried to convince myself it was coincidence. Maybe he had insomnia. Maybe he worked late shifts. A few days passed without incident, and I almost forgot about it. Then on Saturday night, I came home around 9:45 p.m. and noticed something different. His lights were on. For the first time, I could see him clearly. Mid-40s maybe, thin, pale, standing directly behind the glass, not moving, just staring at my dark window. The moment I stepped into my room and turned on the light, he didn't look away. Most people would. If you get caught staring into someone's bedroom, you turn your head. You pretend you weren't. He didn't. He just kept looking. Expressionless. I felt exposed in a way I can't fully describe. I closed the blinds immediately and stepped back. My heart was racing harder than it should have been. I told myself to be rational. It's not illegal to look out your window. But it didn't feel like he was just looking out. It felt like he was waiting. Around midnight, I heard a faint tapping sound. Not from my window, from downstairs. I walked quietly into the living room. The back patio door leads to a small fenced area. The curtain was partially open. And there he was, standing at the fence line, on his side, watching my living room through the glass. He wasn't trying to climb the fence. He wasn't knocking, just standing there, close enough that I could see his face clearly under the patio light. He didn't look surprised to see me. He didn't wave, didn't smile. He just stood there, staring. I grabbed my phone and pretended to take a photo. He didn't move. I stepped closer to the glass. He didn't step back. That's when I noticed something that made my chest tighten. His reflection in the glass wasn't matching his posture exactly. He was standing straight, but the reflection's head was slightly tilted, just a few degrees to the side, watching me at a different angle. I blinked hard, thinking my eyes were playing tricks on me. When I focused again, the reflection matched him normally. I stepped back slowly. He stayed there another full minute, then turned around and walked back into his house. Calmly, no rush, no embarrassment. The next day I told the HOA about it. They said he'd lived there for years. Quiet, keeps to himself, no prior complaints. They suggested maybe I misunderstood the situation. That night I closed every blind before sunset, locked every door. At exactly 11:30 p.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number, a single message. You forgot one. My heart slammed into my ribs. I checked every window upstairs, all blinds closed. I walked downstairs slowly, scanning the walls. Everything looked covered. Then I noticed the small bathroom window near the stairs, the one I rarely think about. The frosted glass was thin enough to show faint shadows from outside. And there, through the blur, was the outline of a face. Close, pressed near the glass, watching. The outline of the face remained pressed against the frosted bathroom window, distorted but unmistakably human, the shape of a forehead and nose close enough to flatten against the glass. I couldn't see details, just the shadow, but I knew he was inches from the house. My breathing became shallow as I stood frozen halfway down the stairs. The patio light outside cast a faint glow, just enough to sharpen the silhouette. Then slowly the shadow's head tilted to the side, the exact same subtle angle I had seen in his bedroom reflection days earlier. My hands started shaking. I stepped backward carefully so the stairs wouldn't creak. The shadow didn't move for several seconds. Then it lifted one hand. I saw the faint outline of fingers spread against the glass. 5 dark shapes pressing gently, almost curiously against the window. My phone buzzed in my hand and I nearly dropped it. Another message from the unknown number. "Now you see me." I felt something shift inside my chest, a cold tightening that made it hard to think clearly. I dialed 911 without taking my eyes off the window. As it rang, the silhouette withdrew slightly, then leaned forward again, closer than before. The operator answered, and I whispered my address, explaining that my neighbor was outside my bathroom window. As I spoke, the shadow suddenly disappeared from the glass. I heard soft footsteps moving along the side of the house toward the backyard fence. I rushed into the living room and carefully moved the curtain aside just enough to look. He was walking calmly back across his yard toward his patio door. No hurry, no panic, just a steady, unbothered walk. The police arrived within minutes. They knocked on his door while I watched from my darkened living room. He answered, calm, cooperative. They spoke to him for several minutes. One officer walked back to my unit and asked me what happened. I told him everything: the staring, the fence, the bathroom window, the text messages. The officer asked if I had proof he was sending the messages. I showed him my phone. Unknown number, untraceable. He went back to speak to the neighbor again. When the officers finally left, nothing changed. No arrest, no warning that I could see, just quiet. That night I didn't sleep. I sat in the living room with all the lights off, watching his windows. Around 2:03 a.m., his bedroom light turned on. I could see him clearly again, standing behind the glass. But this time, something was different. He wasn't facing my house, he was facing his mirror. I could see his reflection clearly from my angle, and his reflection wasn't copying him. He stood straight, arms at his sides, but in the mirror, the reflected version of him had its head tilted slightly to the right, watching something beyond the glass, watching my house. My throat went dry. I blinked hard, trying to make sense of it. The real him slowly raised his hand. The reflection didn't. It stayed still, head tilted, eyes locked forward. Then the reflection's lips moved, slowly, forming words I couldn't hear. The real him didn't speak. He just stood there. After a few seconds, the reflection's head straightened, and then it matched him again perfectly. He turned off his bedroom light and disappeared into darkness. My phone buzzed one final time that night, a single message: close them all. I checked every blind again, every curtain, every small window. Everything was covered. Yet when I returned to the bathroom, I noticed something that made my stomach drop. The frosted glass window had a faint smear across it from the outside, a handprint. And beside it, slightly lower, another handprint, smaller, like someone else had been standing next to him, watching with him. I moved out a week later, different neighborhood, different building. But sometimes at night, when I pass a dark window and catch my reflection, I notice something unsettling. My posture will look normal, but the reflection's head will be slightly tilted, just a few degrees, watching something behind me. This was Midnight Whispers. If someone watches you through the window long enough, make sure it's only one pair of eyes looking back.